Lucifer is an ancient demon praised by the Lucifer's clan, online lesbian satanic sect, which you can only join, obviously, by being a woman on the dark web.
Inca L. Vargas, writer-director, brings us The Nanny's Night. And this one stars Anna Garberí, who is an Instagram model as far as I can see, and this being her kind of second feature movie, and is a kind of cross between The Babysitter and Satanic Panic. It's actually a Spanish movie, albeit it is spoken, I would say 90% of the time in English, which kind of gives it a odd kind of film, but we'll kind of come on to that. But what is the story? It focuses on Bianka, who is this babysitter who is hired by a wealthy couple to look after their young daughter, or they kind of go away for a night out. Unbeknownst to the parents, Bianka is actually an aspiring Satanist, wanting to sacrifice a virgin, and they have to kind of do it on film, along with her kind of lesbian lover, to gain entry into this kind of satanic cult. And they obviously have malicious intent towards this kind of young girl who they're meant to be kind of looking after. Now, what will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So, let us discuss The Nanny's Night. So this is a little bit of a strange flavour. It is a Spanish movie, and everyone here is a Spanish cast member, albeit they are speaking in English. So it's a little bit of a weird one because everyone is speaking in a very, very thick Spanish accent, but in English. And you think, why wouldn't this just be a kind of a foreign language film? And obviously the answer is because they want to sell it to international audiences. But it kind of makes it a little weird in some aspects. It does, in the same way, give it somewhat of an own identity in some ways. I think this movie is quite a generic film, which we'll come on to again, but what I would say is that it does have a few comedic touches that I think kind of quite worked here. That it's not like a movie which is, I would say, an out-and-out comedy, but there are a few kind of throwaway jokes here and there, and you know, with most comedies it's hits and misses, but I think some of them do kind of hit, and there are kind of a few gags here that work, and it almost becomes a little bit like a farce in some ways, where we have these two aspiring Satanists wanting to sacrifice this particular girl, but they are constantly kind of getting interrupted by different things that kind of cause them to have to delay, and obviously give this this young girl chance to escape and fight back, a la kind of Home Alone style. So it's a kind of a light horror film in some ways. I mean, obviously we have seen movies like The Babysitter, like Satanic Panic, and it really does feel like it belongs in those kind of groups of movies. So if you do like those two films, you may want to check this one out, albeit this one does feel like somewhat of a very kind of watered down vanilla version of them. It has a kind of young and a kind of attractive cast, as I say. There are kind of our main babysitter as an Instagram model, and obviously there's a kind of a play up on kind of sexuality here. So there's kind of lots of kind of pretty people to kind of look at. And because the movie is quite a short film, it's only 75 minutes, you know, it doesn't kind of outstay its welcome kind of too much. And I think because this movie is a Spanish film, it has this kind of a little bit of a kind of a strange flavour to it when we see our external shots, of which, to be honest with you, there isn't a hell of a lot, but it has this, it certainly has more of a kind of, you know, a slightly different feel to a lot of the kind of the American movies that kind of have this kind of same thing, but it's clearly kind of trying to ape that kind of American kind of style of films. I mean, that's why all your cast here is kind of speaking English. What doesn't work, I found the problem here with when we have a Spanish cast primarily speaking English, is that sometimes it's actually quite difficult to understand them because they all have very thick accents, and there were occasions when they were kind of talking and I actually can't understand what they're saying. I mean, maybe that won't be a problem for some, but for me it was a little difficult because I was kind of missing lines of dialogue, really, because I was, you know, you have people who are obviously native Spanish speakers speaking in a kind of a language which is not their own, and it's a little bit weird because you're thinking, why are people speaking, you know, English in Spain, and even kind of on a more technical level, it's hard to kind of understand. The movie's plot is so light. I mean, certainly, thank goodness, you know, it's not like a long film, because there's not enough plot here to really kind of sustain any kind of longer than this. But even in its short running time, I felt like there wasn't much to this. It really is just that kind of premise and nothing else, to be honest. There's no real kind of like in-depth characterization from any of our kind of cast here. We get a little bit of a conversation at the beginning, but I never really felt like we kind of got to know any of the kind of the characters here, be it, you know, protagonist or antagonist. The movie tries to have a little bit of a kind of a surprise ending, should we say, but I don't know if it particularly kind of worked, if you want my honest opinion on in regards to that. The acting, again, because we're having actors here that are not speaking their native language, it seems a little bit forced at times, and you do find that the actors are sometimes struggling a little bit with their kind of line delivery, and ultimately it's a little bit too vanilla. It's not particularly a gory film. It's kind of quite light. It's very kind of like has this comedic touch, which is kind of fun at times, but you never really feel it gets dramatic or it gets kind of like scary, or it kind of, there's not really any kind of jump scares. These two kind of satanic wannabes are a little bit too inept to be kind of taking too seriously, to be honest with you. So it's a very, very lightweight film. There is a couple of like bloody scenes and stuff, but it's nothing too kind of graphic. It just feels like a very, very light kind of throwaway film. I don't think it's necessarily a badly made film. You know, maybe it would have worked had it just kind of leaned into its kind of Spanish heritage and kind of became a, you know, a Spanish language movie. It would have kind of had a little bit more weight to its kind of line delivery and stuff like this. As it stands at the moment, it's kind of like a bubblegum Satan worship movie, which I feel doesn't really explore why these characters were doing such things, what they hope to kind of gain from kind of doing this outside of kind of entry into this kind of like the Satanic club. No idea how they kind of got involved or anything like that. So it all becomes a little bit sort of too, just too surfacey ultimately. It's not a bad film, I would say. It's, you know, it's competently made at least, but it just doesn't rise above any type of expectation that one might have in a film like this. So I'll give this one a 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.